Have you ever watched someone destroy their own career without realizing it? Because that's exactly what happened today. A powerful boss decided to publicly humiliate a quiet black employee, not knowing every word was being recorded. And when HR finally pressed play, the room never sounded the same again. The conference room on the 14th floor of North Star Solutions was designed to intimidate, floor-to-ceiling glass walls. A table long enough to feel like distance mattered. Leather chairs that creak when you shifted, almost as if they were warning you to stay still. Monday morning meetings were always tense, but this one felt different. No one could explain why. Maybe it was the way conversations stopped the moment the door clicked shut. Maybe it was the way people avoided eye contact. Or maybe, deep down, everyone already knew who today's target would be. Marcus Hill sat near the end of the table, notebook open, pen perfectly aligned, back straight. Marcus had learned early in his career that being prepared wasn't enough. You had to look prepared. At 29 years old, Marcus was the youngest analyst on the operations team. He'd earned a position the hard way. Top of his class, internships stacked back to back, glowing recommendations. But in this building, none of that ever seemed to matter, because Marcus was also the only black man in the room, and the only one who never interrupted, never raised his voice, never complained. The door opened. Conversation died instantly. Richard Coleman entered like he owned oxygen itself. Tall, broad shoulders, silver hair cut precisely enough to scream authority. Richard didn't greet anyone, didn't sit down. He dropped his briefcase on the table, hard. The sound echoed. Marcus felt his chest tighten. Richard scanned the room slowly, deliberately, until his eyes landed where they always did. On Marcus. Before we start, Richard said, we need to clear something up. No one moved. Richard tilted his head slightly. Marcus, he said loudly, stand up. Marcus hesitated for half a second, just long enough to feel every eye turn toward him. Then he stood. Yes, sir? Richard clasped his hands behind his back, pacing slightly like a prosecutor. Do you have any idea how embarrassing it is, Richard said, to explain your mistake to senior leadership? Marcus blinked. I'm not sure what mistake you're referring to. Richard laughed. A sharp, humorless laugh. That's your problem, he said. You never know what you've done wrong. A few people looked down at their laptops. Someone shifted uncomfortably. Marcus swallowed. If there's an issue with the budget forecast, he said carefully, I'd be happy to review it privately. That word, privately, set Richard off. No, Richard snapped. When you screw up, you don't get privacy. He turned to the room. This is why standards matter, he said. Because when people aren't held accountable, everyone suffers. Then he turned back to Marcus. And let's be honest, Richard said slowly. People like you always think you're smarter than you are. The air went cold. Marcus felt it hit him. Not like a punch, but like something heavier. Something familiar. People like you. Richard leaned closer. This is a professional environment, he continued. Maybe you're just not cut out for it. Marcus's hands trembled, only slightly. He kept his voice steady. I work hard, sir, and I verify my work. Richard smirked. Try working harder instead of trying to prove something. Then, finally satisfied, Richard took his seat. Let's continue. The meeting moved on. Numbers, deadlines, deliverables. But no one was listening anymore, because something had broken, and Richard had no idea. After the meeting, the team filtered out quietly. No one spoke to Marcus at first, not because they didn't care, because they didn't know how. At his desk, Marcus stared at his computer screen, but he wasn't seeing it. He was hearing Richard's voice again. People like you. This wasn't new. Richard had made comments before. Small ones. Quiet ones. The kind that could always be explained away. You're surprisingly articulate. You don't seem aggressive like I expected. You should be grateful you got a big opportunity. Each time, Marcus told himself the same thing. Keep your head down. Don't make waves. But this time had been different. Public. Deliberate. Humiliating. Marcus reached into his pocket and felt his phone. The screen was dark, but earlier that morning, it hadn't been. 2 weeks ago, Marcus had received an anonymous message through the company's internal reporting system. If you ever feel uncomfortable in meetings with Richard, document everything. At first, Marcus ignored it. Then HR quietly circulated a reminder. Employees are permitted to record conversations in accordance with state law. Marcus looked it up. One-party consent. Legal. That morning, when Richard's tone shifted, Marcus had tapped his phone, still in his pocket. Recording. Not out of revenge. Out of necessity. At 3:17 p.m., an email popped up. From Richard Coleman. Subject, performance. Marcus opened it. Your work today was unacceptable. We will be discussing your future with this team. Consider whether this role is right for you. No greeting. No signature. Marcus stared at the screen for a long time. Then he did something he had never done before. He forwarded the email to HR, along with the audio file. Elaine Porter had been in HR for 23 years. She had seen bad managers. She had seen worse. But what she hated most, patterns. 3 complaints had crossed her desk in 6 months. Different departments. Same name, Richard Coleman. Each complaint alone could be dismissed. Together, they told a story. Elaine put on her headphones and pressed play. Richard's voice filled her office. Clear, unfiltered, undeniable. She listened once, then again. Then she opened another file. Another voice recording. Same tone, same contempt. Elaine exhaled slowly. This ends now, she said quietly. The calendar invite went out Friday afternoon. Mandatory departmental review, Monday, 9 a.m. No explanation. Richard walked into the conference room, Monday morning confident, relaxed, smiling, until he saw who was sitting at the head of the table. Elaine Porter, and legal counsel. Richard paused. Is this necessary? He asked. Elaine nodded calmly. Yes. She pressed play, and the room changed forever. People like you always think you're smarter than you are. Richard froze. Maybe you're just not cut out for it. His face drained of color. Elaine stopped the recording. This, she said evenly, is a violation of company policy. Richard laughed weakly. You're taking this out of context. Elaine pressed play again. Another recording. Another day. Another comment. Then another. Then another. 6 total. Silence swallowed the room. Elaine turned to the screen. The budget error you accuse Marcus of making? It was introduced after his submission. She clicked again. By you? Richard stood up. This is ridiculous. Sit down, Elaine said. He did. Elaine looked at Marcus. Would you like to say anything? Marcus stood slowly. I didn't want to record anyone, he said. I wanted to feel safe. No anger. No accusation. Just truth. Elaine nodded. That was wise. She turned back to Richard. Effective immediately. You are suspended pending termination. Richard shouted, threatened, begged. It didn't matter. Richard Coleman was gone by Friday. His office cleared. His name removed. No announcement. Marcus got a new manager. Then a promotion. Then something even more important. Respect. Because sometimes justice doesn't come from shouting. It comes from staying calm, staying prepared, and pressing record.